welcome to Connected Conversations for Creatives, a place where creatives like you can learn, grow, and connect. I'm your host, Jennifer Carr. Have you ever felt stuck in a rut, unsure of how to move forward with dreams or ambitions? Or maybe you've set goals but found it challenging to stay motivated and on track. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of goal setting and the power of visualization. Whether you're an artist, writer, entrepreneur, or simply someone looking to bring more creativity into your daily life, understanding the science and benefits of setting clear, achievable goals can transform your journey. Imagine having a roadmap that not only guides you, but also inspires you every step of the way. Visualization techniques such as creating vision boards can be a powerful tool in this process. By creatively mapping out your aspirations, you not only define what you want, but also begin to attract the energy and opportunities needed to achieve them. And this isn't just about sticking pictures on a board. It's about connecting with your deeper desires and setting a concrete path toward your future. Creativity plays a vital role in this process. Engaging in creative activities can help you de-stress and decrease anxiety and provide a mental space where new ideas can grow and existing plans can be refined. When we tap into our creative potential, we unlock new ways of thinking and problem solving, which can be particularly useful when it comes to achieving our goals. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Maria Maldonado-Smith, the Chief Empowerment Officer of MMS Consulting and the creator of the Executive Vision Imagery Program. With 18 years of award-winning success in the corporate space, Maria has worked with Fortune 500 companies, the U.S. House of Representatives, Disney, and Paramount Studios, just to name a few. She brings her unparalleled combination of experience and passion to help leaders and organizations clearly define their goals and create actionable roadmaps to success. Maria also finds joy in helping individuals, including college students, through the creative process of making vision boards. She's here to share her insights on how you can use these techniques to achieve your goals and dreams. So let's dive in and explore how creativity and goal setting can transform your life. Maria, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Jen. That was a beautiful introduction. Goodness gracious, thank you so much. I'm really
Oh,
excited.
absolutely. I'm excited too because I'll be honest with you, vision boards are something that sound like such a great idea, and I'll try to get started on visualizing something like that, and then I'm like, maybe this isn't for me after all. And so I'm really excited that you're kind of here to guide us and provide some direction there. But before we really jump into that part, tell us about yourself, where you came from, and how you landed where you are.
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, as the bio reads, spent almost 18 years in corporate and had a lot of success, which I think was largely guided by the fact that I set goals and
Yeah.
always had a long-term vision for my life and a long-term plan. On top of that, I mean, originally from Lexington, Kentucky, I've made several relocations with my family due to corporate relocations. So we've lived in Atlanta, we've lived in Nashville, and now we reside in South Florida. And yeah, not a bad place to be, although it is getting
A little hot.
ridiculously hot, yes, this time of year. So, spent time in corporate and then really made that shift. I think like a lot of people during the Great Resignation, during the pandemic, it challenged a lot of us to think about the path that we were on and the path that we could potentially take. And something I'd always been interested in doing, and I think that's why I loved a sales leadership role, was because it was about helping others. It's about helping others see their potential professionally, mostly professionally, but then also helping them become the best person that they wanted to be. And I also felt that there was a missing link with that in corporate. Was we were driving so many professional initiatives that we weren't focusing a lot on who is this person that we are coaching and leading and guiding, and what do they even want out of this role that they're in? Do they see themselves in this role long term? And I think those are questions that sometimes, even as leaders, if we ask them, and contributors or team members or whatever the title we want to give them, feel this tendency to not want to answer truthfully because of being judged. Well, what if I
Yes.
do just want to stay in this role? What if I don't want to climb the corporate ladder? What if this isn't my end job? What if this isn't the place that I want to stay at for the next 20 years? All of those things are okay because it gives us a path to better understanding what the vision for their life is. So that's essentially how I landed on this. And then building this program out really was to engage in those conversations with companies to say, let's pour into your people, because what we know is, I mean, studies show that when we have a more engaged workforce, when we have a more empowered workforce, they feel tied to their role. They feel
Mhm.
that if they feel that they have a meaningful portion or part of um, that bubbles up to the greater purpose, the greater picture, then they're more aligned, they're more determined, they're more focused. And employee retention, employee engagement are two of the things that are crushing corporations right now. And so
Yes.
my program, Executive Vision Imagery, helps to mitigate that and engage with people. So we do spend a lot of time focusing on them as a person, because if I am a large corporation, I want to know that the people showing up to work every day want to show up for me, that
Yes.
they're aligned and they know why they're showing up. It's not just to collect a paycheck. I think we're past those days of
Mhm.
just the generational shift has happened where we just show up to work and we're like happy to be there.
Yes.
Now the reframe is these corporations are lucky to have us because we bring so much to the table. We bring a unique perspective. We're nuanced, we're dynamic. We have so many skills, soft skills, hard skills that we bring to the table. That's why we went to school. That's why we've done the work that we've done so that we can show up in that way.
I love everything about that because it's so true. I've seen it firsthand. My husband works for a large company, and he started as a co-op in college, and he had a lot of people pour into him in such a way that really helped guide and direct his career and make him a better employee. But he also had people who said, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself going? How high
Mhm.
up do you want to go?
Mhm.
And because a lot of people think you get into the corporate world and you immediately want to go straight to the top, but that's not true. He
Right.
loved the technical aspect of his job. He's computer science, cybersecurity, those kinds of things. But
Mhm.
then as he kind of aged in his career, which he's been at for just over 20 years now, he's a people person, and he can mold any employee because he sees exactly what their skill set is, and he knows how to work with them. And in
Mhm.
his department, as a team lead, as a supervisor, and now as a manager, he's doing those things on such a bigger level, and people want to be on his team, where he has other peers who you see members dropping like crazy trying to find other teams because they're not helping somebody use the potential they have inside of them,
Mm.
to do what they're actually good at. It's so, I mean, because it's frustrating when you have a skill and they're not taking advantage of it. You just sit there and you're like, put me in, coach. I'm right here.
Yes, yes. And I think understanding ourselves on a personal level is why so many of us get to that proverbial like year 40 or the age, when they say like you have the midlife
Yes.
crisis. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why so many of us do reevaluate
Yep.
because we are just going on that path of being told like this is the way you should go, this is the direction that you should head, but we're not understanding, is this really what I want? Is this really what I want to do? And if I do, great, that's fantastic.
Yes.
But let's understand more so why there's that connection. What is it
Yes.
about the role? What is it about moving up the ladder that, I mean, is that really what you want? And if it
Mm-hmm.
is, fantastic. And then alongside of that, who do you want to become? What are you trying to then to pick? Who are you trying to become? And then what are you trying to create?
Yes, no, I love that. So tell me about your program and how you came up with the idea. Where did that need come from?
I mean, the need, I really, so I've just been an avid vision boarder and visualizer, I think creative background, went to an art school growing up. So I think that started my love for just assigning visuals to goals that I wanted to achieve. There are very few goals that I've achieved in my life that I haven't assigned multiple visuals to.
Hmm.
It's just how my brain operates. But interestingly enough, 80 to 90% of us are visual learners.
That's
So we
true.
all can benefit from this. And I truly believe this is the missing link between why some people are so capable of accomplishing their goals and others are not,
Mm.
because we're not assigning those visual images to them. And they're incredibly powerful. And so the idea really came from kind of taking something that I loved doing, something I'd been doing with my family, and saying, oh my gosh, I see what this is doing for my kids. Imagine if we had kids who were in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade doing this program or starting to understand what a goal is and outlining that in a visual format. Think how much better our world would be. We would
Yes.
have kids who weren't kind of aimlessly being guided through life. We might be able to mitigate some of this influencer culture that's permeated,
Oh,
our lives as parents, especially because working and striving to help our children understand that they are their own individual person and they need to honor that and own that. I think that's the piece of it that started to stick with me. But what I know is corporate, and what I enjoy is working with people in corporations. So I thought, gosh, you know what? I can at least get into companies and say, why don't we start now? I can work my way backwards, and eventually, we've developing out programs for youth. And I've worked in my son's middle school for the past few years, working with them on vision boards. And it's really neat to see, from sixth grade to eighth grade, he's now actually getting ready to be a freshman in the fall, to see the impact that it has made on some of his classmates who remember from their sixth grade year, oh my gosh, I remember we did this. This is so cool. Maybe they've accomplished some of those goals. It's really fascinating. And it's super cool now to see that young people that I have worked with in corporations or in businesses with the U.S. House of Representatives, they're tagging me on Instagram. They're saying, "Oh my gosh, I accomplished this goal! Like I put this on my vision board in your workshop, and like I met the girl, I got engaged, we're getting married." Because relationships is one of the top 5
Yeah.
goals that people as a whole put on their board. And so when you think about that personal goal, that's a huge piece of how we are happy. And if we show up happy in our personal life, then we're going to show up happy in our professional life if we're aligned with what we're doing. So that's really was the impetus for all of this, was just seeing a need to engage in people. Self-help, professional development, self-development, all of that. It's becoming huge, but it's becoming huge for a reason. There is a reason why we are craving resources. We're craving opportunities to pour into ourselves. And it's because it's missing from our life.
Yes, I was that kid. And you know what? We have guidance counselors in schools, but they
Mm-hmm.
have no idea how to help a kid set a goal. They think that that's an adult thing to do. And if I had had somebody sit me down, even in middle school, and been like, "What do you want to do for the rest of your life?" Or "What are some things that you love doing that you could, maybe one day see yourself doing long term?" If somebody had sat me down and said, "What is it about you, your personality, your gifts, your talents that you want to do all the time?" I probably would have started a writing journey a lot sooner. I probably would have stayed in music a lot longer. But those were all things that you did in school. Those were all things that you did for fun. They were not things that became a. So what did I do? I went to school and had 14 different majors before I landed on, marriage and family counseling. And even then, it was like, this is easy. I like helping people, and therefore, and did I love it? No, I liked it. I learned a lot. I did stuff with it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't a passion until I got close to 40 and was like, you know what? I've got a different passion now. And I wish, that somebody had said, here's how we're going to do this. Like, I needed a you in my life when I was younger.
Well, but your story really is the sentiment of so many people that I talk with, and like I said, I think there's a reason why we get to that pivotal point in our age, as we approach 40, or we're in our 40s, and we think, gosh, I only have so much time left on this
Yeah.
earth if I'm lucky, and so how do I want to spend the rest of my time? How do I want to pour into me? I've been told, I think that's a big piece of it, is like, we don't give our children enough autonomy to say, no, this is actually who I want to become, or I think this is what I want to do, and then give them the opportunity to explore that. And I mean, that's a whole other conversation,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's an educational system breakdown,
Yes.
unfortunately. that would
Yes.
that would take
Yes.
hours. We could go through that for that could be a 4-day seminar, but
Listen, I'm there for it. Let's do it. Oh my gosh.
and
Yes.
so and listen, while I love myself some teachers, because I had
Yes.
some amazing teachers growing up, ones that inspired me, ones that really gave me that freedom to be who I was, and so for those I am eternally grateful. And my children
Right.
have had some amazing teachers as they're growing up. But implementing these kinds of programs are just, they're paramount to our success. And whether we get them in middle school, high school, in college, or in a corporate setting, I think somehow we need to implement them into our life.
Oh
There,
yeah.
and yes, to your point, I think in the counseling world, sometimes our goal is to fix or to
Mhm.
solve,
Mhm.
when instead sometimes it's just to listen and to help someone explore what the potential could be. And
Yes.
So these aptitude tests and all of these things that say, oh, I think you would be a good fit for this. I do think that there are some good programs
Mhm.
now starting to come about. I think that's also the blessing and the curse of AI is we now have so much a wealth of knowledge and information. So we have programs now that really, if you put some things in, you can dump some things into AI. Like, I'm really passionate about this, and this, and it might spit out a 10 careers that you potentially could do. And some of them you might not have ever even considered had you not been led in that direction. So there is a beautiful piece to that. But I also want us to think so creatively on our own, and we do that when we separate ourselves from the distractions, from the social media, from the day-to-day monotony. I liken it to, an exercise plan. Truly, if you're going to lose weight, if you're going to create a lifestyle that is different from the one you currently have, you're going to have to make changes. Your habits are going to have to change. It's not going to be easy. And the one thing I stress or impress upon participants in my workshop is this isn't easy. This may seem fun, but this is one day in a controlled environment. Now you're going to be released out into the wild and you're going to have to dodge all of the distractions, all of the temptations, all of the things that are going to be put in front of you that says, do you really want that goal? Do you really want to work towards that? And you're going to have to decide, yes, this is something that I truly want. So therefore, I'm going to stay the path. Or you can say, I mean, that was a cool, fun exercise, and I made the board, but it's going to go in a drawer like she told me not to do, but it's going to grow in a drawer, and I'm probably going to forget about it. And I'll find it in 6 months. And hey, maybe, just maybe, that one day that I did the exercise, I threw a couple of those things out into the universe, and maybe one of them will come true. So I always say, it's like we say in corporate, I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink. And
Oh, yeah.
and that's a similar aspect of my program. I set you up, I give you all the tools, the resources. I'm going to give you digital opportunities to make it work. I'm going to give you, which is, apps, resources, all the things that I have researched and tried out myself. And what I have found is I don't like any of the digital resources, but I understand there are people who do. I
Mhm.
know that the science says that I'm 3 times more likely when I put pen to paper to be
Mhm.
more successful. I know that I am 76% more likely to accomplish my goals when I have a vision board in front of me, I have an accountability partner, and have a written action plan that accompanies it. And that is a study that was done at a Dominican university, Dr. Gail Matthews. So you can look it up. You can see, this is not stuff I'm just, creating. The science is there.
Mhm.
We then can make, connect the dots so that we can help support ourselves. And if we are smart at living our life in the way that we want, then we will create a plan just similar to the exercise plan around our goals, and we'll set aside time every day. All I'm asking from people is 3 to 5 minutes a day. Like
Right.
3 to 5 minutes, sit with your board in the morning before you do your doom scrolling on your device and you start, hopping on Instagram,
Mhm.
doing the things that you normally do, the cadence, because we get into a
Mhm.
cadence of our day. And then that becomes what drives how we operate. And the average social media user with one account sees anywhere from 10 to 100 images a day. There's over 3.2 billion images uploaded online every day. There's over 720,000 hours of video content. So we are inundated with
Yep.
information. We have so much information at our fingertips, but does any of that really drive what we're
Right.
working on? And that's the key, is defining, but what images are going to set me up for success? If looking at someone else's family, well, that's wonderful. That's great. And maybe that's a reminder
Mhm.
that, what, I want to take a beach day with my family, or I want to take my kids to Legoland. Okay, great. But there's a lot of stuff that we are inundated with that we allow ourselves to see and to take up space in our brain that just move us further and further away from our goals.
Oh my gosh, all of that. Yes. It is one of the basic proponents of human psychology that setting goals is a form of motivation. Like, goals motivate you to do things. The problem is, I think a lot of times, and you've probably seen this, we
Mhm.
set these goals that are so high and so lofty, and we think we're going to go from step 1 to step 10 in one step. And there's a reason that it's stair steps, that we're not just going to jump from one place to another. That's painful, it's impossible, it's discouraging, you could hurt yourself. There are lots of reasons why we don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's just like an exercise plan. If I went out and started trying to run a mile right now, I promise you I would get probably down the street. It's so hot and humid that I would probably suffocate or drown in the air. But like, I wouldn't make it because I'm not trained to run a mile. I might make it to the end of the street. We'll see. But, that's also, it's not something I want to do. It's not a goal that I would ever set for myself. Like, I don't love running. I hate running. It's not something So you also have to be careful which goals you set for yourself. You want to be a best-selling author. Okay, what's that going to do for you? Because putting your name on a bestsellers list doesn't mean anything. It's a lot of it is money and politics. So what is that going to say? Or you could have a group of readers who adore your work and who encourage you to write the next best book you could possibly write. So we have to be realistic when it comes to setting our goals, because we do tend to just kind of jump off the deep end and say, "I've got this," and you don't got
Right.
this.
Well, and what you just spoke about is exactly why 92% of people fail their New Year's resolutions. 62% give up in the first month because, just like you said, they make the goal so broad, so large. They try to accomplish something, and I use an example from a private client of mine, and I mean, I absolutely adore her. I love her. One of the first things that we talked about were some of the personal goals that she wanted to set. And she said, I want to set a personal reading goal. I've always wanted to do that. And she had 4 or 5 other goals too. And I was like, okay, we're just going to focus on one. Like, when you work with me, you're going to focus on one personal goal, one professional goal, and then one kind of fun goal that is more like a hobby that you can do 2 to 3 days a week, whether it's take a dance class, take a pottery class, learn a new language, that you can spend 20 minutes a day listening to, an app or watching a show on, or oh my gosh, module. Sorry, I was trying to say, module on online. But I said to her, okay, that's fantastic. You want to have a reading goal, okay, what is this reading goal? Well, I want to try to read 35 books. I just feel like that's a number. Like, that just is like big. And I'm like, that is absolutely big. I'm like, how many did you read last year? Oh, I mean, I maybe read 4, maybe 5. And I was like, okay, all right, okay. Okay, so why don't we start with 7 or 6?
Yeah.
Even. Let's just read 1 more than we did last year. And I know that it seems like, what? Like, that's the goal? But isn't the idea to set ourselves up for success and not failure? And because our brain cannot perceive or understand the difference between what we tell it, if we tell it like, oh, I'm such a failure, even in a joking way, it starts to internalize, I'm a failure. And I think the thing that we have to keep in mind is we're training ourselves for those small successes that lead to greater, bigger successes down the road. It's not about 35 books. That's fantastic. And if you've got time to do 35 books, amen to you.
Yes.
Good, great. I'm about a book a month, honestly. And I do have a goal of 24 because I try to read 1 fiction and then 1 nonfiction book, just to balance out, because I get sometimes too inundated with clinical type books because of the work that I do.
Yes.
But, I think it speaks to the fact that it's okay to start small and to start slow, because then you can accelerate at a pace that you feel comfortable with to get there. But so often, to your point, I mean, we sign up for the marathon and we've never even run a 5K. Like, yes, I'm all for challenging yourself. I'm all for challenging yourself, but take it slow, because then you really enjoy when you can attack that marathon at a pace and a speed that you feel really confident and comfortable. Like, man, I did that, but I did it because I built up over time. And that's a piece that is lost, I think, because of the instant gratification of what social media can do for us. Is, oh man, in a 30-second reel, I saw this person go from soup to nuts. I saw them go, from start to finish, and boom, like, it just didn't seem that difficult. Then we get in it. And to your point about motivation, action is motivation. And I oftentimes, that's why we search for motivation, but unfortunately it's not like out there floating around. We actually have to just, unfortunately, like, get up off our butt and make it happen. Like, it's
seriously.
Yeah. It's not always enjoyable. I don't always like that I have to do something in order to make something happen. Believe me, I wish sometimes I could just snap my fingers and things come true. I always say that, and I'm very transparent, even with my workshop participants. Anyone I talk to, I'm like, I am sometimes the first person who will reach over for their phone, and the first thing I'll do is, okay, how many emails did I get this morning? What can I go through? What can I sift through? Is there a new article? I subscribe to a lot of medical journals. So is there a new article that I could potentially read? And it's like, oh, I just need to back up, take a step back, Get out of bed, go look at my board. Okay, this is what I'm focused on. Great. Spend 3 to 5 minutes with it and then just regroup for the day.
Oh man, I tell you, and there's something to be said for that journey along the way, because going back to the
Mhm.
marathon example, you get stronger every time you run a little bit farther, right? You are learning something, you're getting something out of the journey, out of the experience, and that's true whether you want to become a best-selling author, whether you want to become the next
Mhm.
best musician, whatever the case may be. There's something to be learned along the way. There are mistakes that you have to make in order to be successful in the end, and that's so hard for us to understand
Mhm.
because we don't like making mistakes. But if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to know how to handle the big bumps in the road. You know what I mean? Like, because mistakes can be really small. I mean, some of them can be really big. I've made some.
Mhm.
But, along the way, you have to
Mm.
just be willing to hit those speed bumps so that when you
Mhm.
get to the end of the track, whatever you're doing, you're like, oh, okay, and I'm better for it in the end. And
Mhm.
that's so hard because I don't like learning. I love learning book stuff. I don't like learning hard knock stuff. Like, don't life is hard and
Yeah.
it is what it is. Nobody
Yeah.
really likes that, but it's necessary.
Absolutely. We don't wanna make life any harder than we have to, but
Right.
sometimes we do it to ourselves. It's self-inflicted.
Right.
It's self-inflicted. We do. Because we have an idea about certain things or we're hard-headed. We're like, "Oh, well,
Yes.
I know that science tells me that if I do all of this, that, I'll get to this result, but you know what? I'm just gonna try to prove it wrong. Why not?" So,
I'm the
I
exception, obviously. Oh my gosh.
Right. Yes. And so much of the why I developed this program was because of so much of the failures and pitfalls and yeah, I'm just trying to think, the roadblocks that I
Yes.
literally put in front of myself. I mean, it's as if I
Yes.
were just dragging them in front of myself to say, "Okay, now where are we gonna go from here?" And it's designed to hopefully help mitigate that if I can make it better for someone else. And then maybe then their bumps in the road or their failures look a little bit different, and maybe they're easier to navigate, but it teaches them something and they can course correct quicker than I did. I think in anything that we do in life, if we can leave it better for someone else, if we can help someone avoid something or at least become more aware of the
Mm.
potential for something to happen, then we're helping out our fellow humans.
Yes, which is in like low supply as it is a lot of times.
Yeah.
So let's talk about vision boards, and
Mhm.
you don't have to give away all your secrets, but how do you
Yeah.
even go about starting to want to create a vision board that you're going to stick to?
Mhm. Yeah. So, and I mean, and here in a second, I'll ask you the same 3 questions, but I always start with 3 questions. I say, if you've never made a vision board, because I had a lot of people who come to me and say, "Oh, I've made these," or "This is like was a kooky little woo woo, craft that we did with some friends, and I didn't really understand it, and we just like basically sat down with some wine and started cutting out images." That's why this is so much more than that. It's definitely not your average vision board, and I truly use the vision board as the like the end piece. It's like the icing that on top, the cherry on top of the sundae. It is after you have done all of the work. So I have a workbook. It's called Creating a Vision Board. It's on Amazon. So if you want to purchase it, but it's a 5-step process. And I start with 3 questions, and those 3 questions are, what do I want? Like just asking yourself, what do I want? Simply, like everything down from what do I want to wear today? What do I want to eat? What do I want to do this weekend, to what do I want to do with my life? And so it runs the gamut. Like I think fundamentally we are guided and pulled in so many different directions. We are a marketing and advertiser's dream. That's why
Yeah.
products sell. That's why there's brand loyalty, because we have been sold on so many things that pull us in a direction that allows them and it to think for us. What do we want? If you remove all the noise and distractions, simply ask yourself that. The second thing is, who do I want to become? I
Mm.
focus less on what my kids want to do with the rest of their life, because I have a feeling it's going to be similar to mine. It's going to change a multitude of times. Like you just said too,
Yes.
you changed your major 14 times during college. God bless you. That's amazing. I love that you had the tenacity and the courage to do that, because I think so many times we get in it, we get to our sophomore, junior year, and we're like, oh, I'm stuck in this
Mhm.
thing, like I guess I just got to finish because I want to get out in 4 years and then go do what everyone's told me that I need to do.
Mhm.
So I love that you challenged that to say, I'm still not happy. I want
I
to figure this.
wasn't.
I still want to figure this out. So who do you want to become? Because I care less about what it is that you want to do with your life, but I do care about the type of people that I'm raising and the type of people
Yes.
that I interact with, because I want to interact with good humans, with good people who care about others and who just have basic respect and appreciation for the fact that there's difference of opinion, difference of environmental circumstances and backgrounds, and that we can still all support each other and get along. And then the third thing is, what do you want to create? What do you want to
Mm.
create? Because we all have something in our minds that we want to create. And I'm not saying that we have to innovate a new technology or, develop a patent for something that is going to light the world on fire. I'm saying, what is it that you want to create in your life? Maybe it's that you want to create a simple life free of
Mm.
distraction, that you want to live a minimalistic approach. Maybe it's that you want a grand life. You want the yacht, you want the mansion. That's amazing. Awesome. Love it for you. I love all of it for you because it's for you. It's
Yeah.
not for me. I have my own goals. And then from there, you break down the process and then you take it year by year. This is a process that isn't a one and done.
Yes.
And this is the piece of personal development, self development that I think this is where we're not encouraging, or not even encouraging, but educating people
Yeah.
enough that this isn't a one time book you read. This isn't a one time course that you take and you're healed. You're saved. Like I got it. I got it. This is work. This is work. It's
Yeah.
constant work because we are ever changing and evolving as people.
Yes.
Therefore, the situations and circumstances around us are going to be ever evolving and changing. And if we pour into ourselves in this way, then most likely it's going to be in a really good, positive way that's going to get us to where we want to go. We all have something that we're working to create, though, whether that is peace, whether that is contentment, whether it's joy, happiness.
Mm.
And then that leads into the word of the year. That leads into the first step of the process, which is find a word of the year that becomes your anchor. That when all hope starts to kind of unravel or fall apart for you, you've got that word that that reminds you, you know what? I said that this year was going to be all about trust. That's my word of the year. And so whenever I feel myself not trusting that things are going the way they're supposed to, or not trusting myself in being confident in what I bring to the table, it's that reminder immediately. It's like that anchor that tugs at me that's like, oh, but remember, you said you were going to trust this year. You were going to
Mm.
trust yourself. You were going to trust the process. You were going to trust others. You're going to trust God to do what he's supposed to do, like all of the things. So, girlfriend, like, get back together. And so that becomes your anchor. And then I walk them through two other pieces that are very crucial and vital that are also in the workbook. And it's defining our personal core values and
Mm.
writing out our mission statement. And you can look at the mission statement in a couple different ways. I choose mission because I've just always had this idea of like, I am on a mission in this life to live it to the fullest and to
Yes.
truly fulfill my purpose. So for me, I do look at that as a mission. Some people think of it as a purpose statement, as a
Mm.
vision statement. Insert whatever word that's going to make it make sense to you and write it out. It needs to be no longer than 3 to 5 sentences, a paragraph. It doesn't need to be a 5-page manifesto because that's a little too hard to
Yeah.
think about. And then revisit it often. Same with those core values and core principles. My core values at 22 look a heck of a lot different than they do now at 42.
Yes.
So when I think about those things, these are the tools and the pieces of it that I'm like, man, if I had had this when I was younger, if I'd had a program like what we have developed, it would just be so much easier. And not that I'm
Yes.
looking for an easy way out. I'm just looking for it to not suck or not hurt as much.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I love. Do you also like encourage accountability with this kind of thing? Because
Mhm.
I need
Yes.
somebody to be like, Jennifer, get on
Yes.
over here today.
Yes, yes, yes. There's a section of this where you actually have to write out who your accountability partner is going to be.
Ooh.
And yes, and I say, it needs to be the person who can deliver the tough love. So
Hmm.
sometimes that, for me, it's my spouse. But I
Yeah.
I think we met when I was 17, he was 19. Like we've grown up together. We've done
Yes.
so much of life together, more than half of my life. And so we are very much have that kind of relationship where we're just very honest with each other in that
Hmm.
way. Like, you said you wanted to do this and you haven't done it. So I'm holding you accountable because I want you to succeed as much as I know you want to. I've had clients tell me that that would end in divorce. I have
That's
married
true.
couples that I work with that
Mhm.
say, "Oh, no, no, I need an accountability partner outside of
Mhm.
the meeting that we have when we come together." Like I said, this no, not this is not one size fits all. You find
Yes.
what works best for you, because this is about taking control of your own personal path. And then professionally, you'll write out your personal goals, your professional goals, and then you'll write out this. I call it a play goal, just to keep in line with the three P's.
Yes.
And but really, I think we need a lot of play in our life,
Mhm.
and that's one thing I reflect on. And gosh, I remember creative play when I was younger. It was so fun. It was like the highlight of kindergarten and first grade, right? It's like what you
Yes.
look forward to. So
Yes.
we miss that as adults because we become so serious and so focused on the goals that we are working on that we forget that we got to add a little play back into our life. Um, and then I
Yes.
challenge everyone to identify what their one goal for the year is going to be. Now they take it from their three. So they're going to write out three goals. What is the one goal that is kind of the do the dang goal? That's what we call
Mhm.
it. Do the dang
Yeah.
thing. Do the dang goal. What are you going to make happen? What are you going to ensure that if everything else falls apart, this is the one goal that you're going to see through to fruition?
I love it. That and it's one of those things that when you break it down like that, it doesn't feel so overwhelming. You're not looking at this big picture, okay, I have, minimum 40 years left on my life, I'm going to do it all today so that I don't
Right.
miss it out. You can't. And I love what you said because if I were to base it on anything I was like when I was 20, I got married at 20 and I look back over the last 20 years and I think, oh man, I would have done things so different because I was such a different person. But I
Yeah.
also wouldn't be the person I am today had I not lived through the last 20 years. And so, I do love that it changes and that it flows and that you have to be willing to be flexible because
Mhm.
that's something that's probably taken me just in the last 5 years. I've realized that I was not a very flexible person. Now, I
Mhm.
still like my schedules, I still like my agendas, I still like knowing what's going to happen next.
Yep.
I will literally be the person that reads every spoiler on a book and then still read the book so I don't go into it with anxiety. Like I am that person. And
Mhm.
but at the same time, when I realize that it's okay to be a little more flexible and to let life just kind of happen to me sometimes,
Mhm.
I'm a lot happier than I used to be. And so when I started applying that to my goals and saying, okay, maybe that wasn't the right goal to set for this week or
Yeah.
this month or this year, it's okay. I didn't fail. I learned something in the process, but at the same
Mhm.
time, there's time to try again.
Yes. Yes, we should not be beating ourselves up for not being perfect every day. One, because no one
Oh,
is perfect, and we have to there has to be a healthy amount and dose of grace that we give ourselves.
yes.
I'm all for being relentless in our pursuit of our goals because we should be so in love with them that that's why we are focused on making them happen. But there's life that happens in
Life.
between that. In a perfect
Yes.
scenario, everything would go exactly how we want, and it's interesting that you say, and thank you for your transparency and vulnerability in saying about the flexibility piece because I was very much not a flexible human being there for a while. It
Hmm.
was I lived my life by like what I could control, and then when I
Hmm.
realized gosh, but there's so many variables to life that I just can't control, and it's okay sometimes to just let it go and move on. Or you can't control how other people respond or react to you, or that even as a leader, I may do something one way because I care about my job or my role in a different capacity in a different way than someone else. So it's not that they care less than me, they just care in a different way, and that's okay.
Yes.
But to your point, I was a young leader and I had to learn that the hard way. I had to
Hmm.
learn that, oh, so you mean not everyone likes to work until 1 o'clock in the morning and send
Hmm.
emails and all of the things, and not everyone likes to, uh, you know, just work 6, 7 days a week and travel all the time. It was news to me at that point. But then, like I said, life circumstances, life experiences
Hmm.
change you, and then you realize, oh, okay, I get it.
Yes.
Like, if I'm just in it for me, like, if I like, if I focus on me, then I'm more willing to accept and understand that they're doing what's best for them, and that person's
Yes.
doing what's best for them, and isn't this a beautiful thing?
There is freedom to be had in learning that about yourself. Is it
Yes.
fun? Is it fun to learn about yourself? No, because
No.
I was perfectly content. Thank you very much. But how much more peace and freedom and
Yeah.
contentment do I have now
Yes.
than I did then?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I feel like we're probably kindred spirits in so many ways because I'm
I
listening
agree.
going, I get it. I get it.
I agree.
That's so funny. Okay, so when you're thinking about creating this vision board, some of us are creative in ways like I can put words on a page and I love the stories that come from them. But when you look at my art,
Mhm.
it looks like a 10-year-old could have done it, more like 5 or 6. Like I'm not that creative when it comes to that kind of creativity. So how do you meet people where they are creatively?
Yeah, listen, that's why I say your board is your board. These aren't being entered into, an art competition to be judged or anything. I have attendees in my workshops who have less than 10 images on their board, but they represent all of their goals. They represent everything they're working to do. The only thing that I ever, I guess, quote unquote, dictate to people is I do want your word of the year in the middle of your board.
Ooh,
And there's a reason for that. And it has to do with activating the reticular activating system in our brain. And because that's your anchor, that's the first thing I want your eyes being drawn to every day when you look at that. So trust is in the middle of my board, and then everything comes out from that. Everything kind of like if you think about a wheel, it's the center, and then the spokes are all of those goals and images that support the goals I'm working towards. But find images that speak to you. And listen, they might not come from a magazine. You might have to search online. But just like anything, just like you would research a meal planning program or an exercise routine, do the work.
yeah.
That's the thing. It might take longer than a 2-hour session. You might have to take it into the weekend and spend a little time focusing on it. You may say, I haven't found the right image to represent, this professional goal. And then 3 days later, you happen to see something online. That's the image. I'm going to snip that and print it out and put it on my board. Give yourself some time. Like I said, this isn't something that is like, it's not a one-time thing. Let your board actually grow and evolve with you. You may say, okay, I'm just going to put these images right now that represent the goals I'm working on because I still have a few more that I want to fill in, but I'm looking for the right image. Or a goal may come up that you say, you know what, this is a shorter term goal. And I found an image in a magazine that represents that. I save some space on my board. So now I'm going to put that on my board to represent a shorter term goal that I'm working to achieve. Your images can represent a 10-year goal that you're working on. Find another image of the next year that represents that goal and put it on there. If you want to resort to drawing out things or writing out words, absolutely. There's no wrong way to vision board. You just
Okay.
got to do it. So the only way it will be wrong is if you just don't make one
Don't do
and
it.
don't create one for your life, because they really are powerful. It's crazy when I look back at the boards that I have and I think, oh my gosh, like these images just support everything that I said that I wanted to do, or they took on maybe a different meaning. I might have thought that I wanted it to be specifically for this. So like speaking was one. And so I had a couple of people on my boards over the past years that were speakers. I had TEDx, I had different things on there. And now that's come full circle to landing, like signing with a speaker agency, landing opportunities to speak. So it took a while, but it's been on the board for 2 to 3 years now. And I've made progress every single year to accomplishing that goal.
I love that. And again, it goes back to you put it on there when you are the person that wants to achieve that goal. Is it okay to take things off of your vision board? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Please feel free to scratch it out, cover it up with another image of something else that you're working to achieve. Actually, Warren Buffett talks about that a lot in kind of his difference. What he thinks the difference between millionaires and billionaires is that billionaires are just, they are relentless at like tweaking, defining, redefining, understanding that just because I set this goal, it does not mean I failed. It means I've actually evolved and I have learned that through the process that I have been creating every day, this doesn't mean anything to me anymore. That's okay. That's actually a beautiful thing. What happens when it becomes bad is when we choose to stay on the path of doing something that we don't love. That's when you have those moments where you wake up and you just want to change everything in your life. And you want to rip the Band-Aid off and say, I'm quitting my job. I'm moving away. I'm doing this, I'm all these things. It's like, whoa. You didn't need to do that. All you needed to do is probably have a little bit of a reframe about one major or, like a job or a career path, instead of ignoring it and continuing to apply pressure to it, just back off. It's
Yes.
totally okay to regroup. That's the beauty of this life. Like, we get to make those choices. And I think that's another thing that we don't give ourselves enough credit, or we don't acknowledge enough, is that
Mhm.
we get to make those choices. And those aren't the in making it, it's not going to be easy. It's not like, oh, we've made the choice and now everything's going to change. There's still going to most likely be work involved, but at least now you're working towards something that you really care about and that you actually that matters to you.
I've also learned that when you find what matters to you, you enjoy the work along the way. Like you enjoy doing the work to get there because it's something that you want it bad enough, you're going to do the work.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it is like, and that's what I found when I started writing books. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how much I would love this. I've always loved writing, but I didn't know how much I was actually going to love writing entire books, entire stories, and that kind of thing. And now it's like, I need to do it all the time. It just becomes
Yes.
part of you and where you're headed. So,
Yes.
yeah, I love that. Okay, so do you have any ideas in mind for your next project? Do you have a big project coming up that you want to talk about?
Well, so here's a couple things that I am working on. I do have the workbook, Creating a Vision Board, on Amazon. There's going to be, I guess, a sister to that. It is a journal, which is going to be called the Friday Five, and it's going to be something that you jot down every Friday, 5 things that you were able to accomplish that week. Now,
Mhm.
there's a section in the beginning of it that introduces my post-it note method. I do one post-it note a day, and I focus on working towards accomplishing one thing a day. Now, that one thing could be simple, it could be pretty massive. I mean, right now it's applying for a grant. So it's like, if I can get that done in one day, whew,
Good luck.
but so yeah, so I took that and I broke it down, and I'm like, you know what, by Friday I need to have this done. So there's a piece and a section of that application that's being accomplished every day. So by the end of, well, by tomorrow, whoa, I will have had that
Yes.
done. So I think when we think in terms of that, what I want to impart on people is that it's small things, it's small tasks, it's daily manageable tasks that make up the greater good, the greater goal. So the Friday Five will support that. And at the end of the week, I've just picked a quote from a lot of different empowering and motivating, inspirational type people. And I've just inserted a quote that, so it's a 52-week journal. And here's the other thing. You don't have to do it every week. There's no dates on it. There's nothing that like stresses you out to where you're like, oh my gosh, I went on vacation. I'm not going to write in my journal. Or maybe that's when you take it, with you because you have more time. So you do want to engage in that practice every day. So you have an opportunity to just think about, wow, these are 5 things I did this week. I should be really daggone proud of myself that I did that. So that's coming out. And then I have a more corporate facing workbook for executive vision imagery is also going to be launching. And I probably won't put that on Amazon just yet. That'll be more for the corporate groups that I work with. But creating a vision board really is for anyone and everyone. So if you have children, if you want to do it as a family exercise,
Oh,
and I would love to be the person that walks you through that. I do them both virtually and in person if you are here in South Florida. But yeah, that's what I've got. That's what I've got coming. And then just some speaking opportunities, working with the Motherhood Village Summit. So I'm a keynote speaker there, talking about grace and grit in motherhood and how creating that vision for your life can mitigate a lot of the troubles. I think the frustrations that we have along our motherhood journey, and and then speaking on some college campuses this fall as well.
how fun. I keep, you need to have maybe some inspiration here. A middle school type curriculum. Are you working on that? Does that exist already?
That is, yes. So I have started to lay the foundation for a .org.
Yay.
Creatingvisionaries.org is in existence right now, only in domain ownership only and trademark, but I'm working on creating a program that would be designed for middle and high school
I love
students,
it.
that they would it would carry them from 6th grade to 12th grade, where they could work on a project that would span their middle school years and then span their high school years as well, to
I
just
love
show
that. I was
them
just
the
hoping.
benefits of
That's
long-term
great.
goals. Yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
no, that's fantastic. I was just kind of like, I heard your passion for it at the beginning. You were talking about, hitting him young and early, and I was like,
Mhm.
surely there's something percolating about that. So
Yes.
that's so
Yes,
exciting.
that is a massive undertaking, and the educational system, like we had said, I mean,
Oh.
there's just so many things I'm learning about how to navigate that from building and creating out a program and curriculum. And I need way more help. So
Yes.
I'm not above asking for help, and I know that I need it. So I'm engaging with some of my friends in the educational system to say, hey, how do I even go about writing a business plan for this type of curriculum, or writing out what the steps would be on a daily basis? Because I know how it fits for me in my personal life and in corporate, but we're talking about kids. And so we're adding in a lot of different components that I'm just unfortunately not trained or educated in. And so I'm deferring to the professionals on that.
I think that's great though. And maybe use this as an open call that, hey, if you're an educator and you feel that this is a passion and something that needs to happen in the schools, by all means, we'll have her contact information in the show notes so that
Yes,
you can reach
please,
out.
please, please. I would love all of the advice and help, because I truly believe it's a program that one, teachers would enjoy too, because
Mhm.
I have done a couple of professional development days for in the private school system,
Oh,
but not in the public school system. I think this would be a fascinating,
yes.
thing to hold for professional development for teachers, so that they can even
Mhm.
set their own goals for the year. Because yes, we are still focusing on the kids, but sometimes they miss out on some of these resources too. So I love that this would cover both of those bases for them and for their students.
I love it. Okay, we are to the point of the show where we're going to flip the script, and you are now the host of
Yeah.
Connected Conversations for Creatives. So take it away.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. So
Absolutely.
yeah, my first question I'm going to ask you, Jen, is what is your big goal for 2024?
Um, let's see. It's so funny because they're all in my head, and I'm not one to write stuff down because I'm afraid of having to hold myself accountable. I'm just going to pour it out. I'm afraid to have to hold myself accountable to these
Okay.
things because I'm afraid of needing to change them. And like we said, I don't do change well. I'm better than I was, but change is kind of hard for me. So,
Okay.
but I will say that as far as like an overarching goal, I have focused so much on I want to have finished the series of books that I am writing currently. I have three and a half. It's supposed to be a 4-book series. I have three and a half books
Okay.
written. The second one publishes in October. The third one is written but needs editing. But the fourth one has me so stuck it's not even funny right now. Like the story's just not coming, and I feel kind of blah. So my goal for this year is to have the whole series written and done by the end of December. That's my goal.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I was taking notes. I hope you don't mind. I was just
Okay, that's
because
fine. Then you can
I
email me later and be like,
right.
Jennifer.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I love like engaging with people in that way.
Yes.
So yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Fourth book. Figuring
That's
that out. What that
it.
looks like. Okay. I would say the next question is, um, what do you want?
Uh, you know, a lot of times authors are like, I want to sell all the books. I want to sell all the books. And I'm like, that'd be great. That would be so great. But it's also not realistic because I am self-published. I'm doing all of the work, except for the editing. That's for my editor to do. But other than that, I do all of the work, legwork and all that. And so I would say I don't want to sell all the books. I want to write good books. Like that's what I want.
Mm,
I want to write books that people want to read
I love
and
that.
not just put them out there for the sake of putting them out there, which also might be what I'm held up on with the last book.
Yeah, no, and oh my gosh, I love that. I love that there's such value in what you're also bringing to the table, and like that is, I love
Yeah.
that that's what you want. Because I love to read books that I feel weren't haphazardly put out there,
Yes.
because an author's like, well, I just churn out 5 to 7 books a year, so like that's just
How?
what I do. Because as a reader, I think you can see that.
Yes.
You realize, like, and I think they're just like, I think this one might
Hmm.
have, yeah, yeah, just been
Uh-huh.
another one to add to the list. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I get it because when you're writing a series, it's really easy. It's a formula type situation where you could just, 3 acts, a breakup in the fourth act. And it's like, I don't want to be formulaic. I want to write stories
Mm,
that people could see themselves living and feel realistically related to the characters. And so I get so tangled up because I see everybody else putting out book after book after book. And I'm going, no, I can't make
Yeah.
myself do it. I just
Yeah.
can't.
No, stay that course because you're on the right track, and you're on the
Thank
right
you.
track for you. Exactly.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And then the third question I have is, who do you want to become?
It's really funny because when you asked these questions earlier and talking about the questions, my immediate answer, and you just said the word, like, I want to be the person that adds value to somebody else. I want to be the person that, I can speak into their work if they ask for feedback. I can provide a platform for them if their work is struggling. I can, walk alongside. I want to be the person that adds value.
Mm.
I want a reader to find that I've added value to their life through the story that I've written, and not just, thrown words on a page. That's my goal. And as far as the person I want to be, and I think that should be true for most of us, is that we should be seeking to add value to the relationships we're in, regardless of business or personal. Sometimes we take more than we give, and I don't want to be that person. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Well, then, and I think then the last one was just, what do you want to create? What are you working to create or build in your life?
The overarching goal is to eventually sell enough books that my husband can either work from home. We live on a farm, and he would
So
love
cool.
nothing more than to be Farmer Rob for the rest of his days if he could.
I love it.
But at the moment he's Mr. Corporate slash Farmer Rob, which means that you can only do so much when you're
Right.
here.
Yes.
Yeah. So my goal is to allow him to retire based on the books that I've written. We joke about it all the time. He's like, "You'll get there," and I'm like, "I want it. I really, really want it, but I have to remind myself that we still have a few years before that's going to happen."
Oh my gosh, I that's too funny that you said that because my husband, I always tell him, actually there's a post-it note on his mirror that I wrote, and I said, I can't wait to make you a golf dad because he always jokes.
Yes.
He's like, I just want to be a golf dad. I'm like, oh, okay, right,
Yes. He would,
stay at home golf
Farmer
dad.
Rob,
Yeah.
that's it. Well, I'm going to get you to Farmer Rob if I have to write the worst book ever. No, whatever the case may be, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do
Gonna do
it.
it. Yes. Yes, you are going to make it happen. You are going to make it happen. It's going to have Farmer Rob is going to be able to step into his full
His favorite overalls, full time. That's
yes,
what
yes, his full dream is gonna come true and happen for him.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh, I love that. I love it.
So those are my goals. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never created a vision board. I would like to. I keep thinking, like, I'm visualizing it as we're talking
Mhm.
about it. I'm like, okay, because my word for the year has been, I've always got a word for the year. And this year, my word is intentional. Like, I want to do
Mm,
things with intention. I
mhm.
want to make sure that I'm doing work that matters, and not just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. I want to make
Right.
sure that every action I take in my family, that I'm doing it intentionally. And so,
Mhm,
because a lot of times we just wing it and there's no
mm,
intention behind it whatsoever. So,
mhm.
like, I've been visualizing in my head, I'm like, I wonder what I would put where. And then now I've got a picture of Rob in overalls in my mind that I've definitely got to
Yeah.
find and stick on my vision
See?
board.
Yes, you gotta find it. Yes, you've got to find that picture. The farmer in overalls, so you can put that on there. Yes.
Hey, honey, will you go put your overalls on and just pose for a picture real quick? He's gonna be
Hey,
like,
that
what is
works
wrong
too.
with you?
That works too. I've had people say, "What if I have a picture on my phone that really
Yeah.
speaks to me that I took?" I'm like, "Print it out." Absolutely. If there's a picture of you living your best life and that's what you want to continue to envision, then do it.
Yes.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
love
Print
it.
that out. I
Yep.
love
So that's where we are. Any other
fantastic.
questions you'd like to bring to the show?
That is it. That's it.
Okay.
I can't wait to dive more into your books, and I'm going to be thinking about and putting out the positivity around your fourth book, and and I'll be touching base with you to yeah, I'll become your accountability.
You kick me in the pants, please, because let me just tell you, it was so funny. We were talking about the accountability thing, and I met my husband when we were 13, and we were best friends. I mean, like, inseparable, to the point where I put him in the friend zone for like 6 years.
Wow.
And then when he was like, "Listen, you either marry me or I got to move on from this friendship," and I was like, "But why?" And he was
Oh,
like, "Because
really?
you are getting in the way of any future relationships I could possibly have." And I was like, "Ouch." Okay. And so we started dating when I had I was 19. And then that was in August. We got engaged in December and married in March when I was 20. And so it was just
Wow.
kind of
Oh
like,
my God.
I couldn't give him up, you know, like I
Yeah.
had to keep him for myself. I'm selfish like that.
Yeah.
So we've just always known each other and we've grown up together.
Mhm.
And the accountability issues we have is, we're on a diet and I'm like, do you want the last Oreo? And he was like, no, we shouldn't. And I'm like, okay. And then he was like, can I have the last Oreo? You know, like
Yeah.
we give in. I'm like, here, have the last Oreo. You know what I mean? Like, we're not good for each other's accountability. I won't tell if you won't.
Yeah.
Like, who am I going to tell?
Exactly.
So, anyway, I do need somebody to kick me in the pants sometimes to hold me accountable to the things that I want to accomplish because as much as he loves me, that's why he can't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh.
So, Maria, will you tell the listeners how they can connect with you and your work?
Yes, yes. So you can find me. I'm most active on Instagram and LinkedIn. So my handle is at Maria Maldonado-Smith. So just the full name. If you also probably look up Vision Imagery, it might pop up as well. And then my website is under construction. However, it has links to all of my social accounts and to the workbook. So it has a link to the podcast as well. Because I have a podcast called Creating the Vision where I talk about people who are creating the vision for their life. Jennifer, I
Nice.
would love to have you on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. And then so you can also email me Maria at mmsconsultingfirm.com. Let me know if you are working on something, if you struggled with making a vision board in the past. I would love to answer your questions, even work with you, do a small group. There's a myriad of ways that you can work with me and find me. So
I love it. And I'll make sure all of that's in the show notes. So all they have to do is click some links and they will find you. All right. I have one last big question for you. Are you ready? Okay.
yes.
What is one piece of advice or encouragement you want listeners to walk away with if they hear nothing else?
Oh gosh. It starts with you. Like
Ooh,
you have the ability to change your life. Like you are the one who no one's going to wait for you, no one's going to rescue you, no one's going to do it for you. So it starts with you. You got to make the choice and the decision. And the cool thing is that you have the power to do that. So if you decide that you want a different life, then start building it out, start working towards it.
I love that. Thank you so much for sitting down and having this
Thank
conversation. Like, I
you.
could have kept going. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Like, I was just so into it. I was like, okay, we have to move forward because otherwise I will keep you here all day. And I have another call this afternoon and I can't. So, anyway, but thank you again. And I hope
Thank
that I can't
you.
wait to see what happens next. And I'm looking forward to your emails.
Yes, 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 I will. I will add you. Yes.
Oh
Thank
boy.
you.
Thank you.